I've increased our monthly recurring revenue by about 21 to 23%, and in this video I'm going to show you how I've done it so that you can do it too. This is a series where I've been sharing with you the behind the scenes of increasing monthly recurring revenue into my business, and I am thrilled to be back and doing it again. You may remember this series when I was walking along and the sun was beaming down. Just a little recap on this is that I used to do it when my daughter was at a specific after school activity club. She stopped doing that and the series stopped, and that was part of what I was explaining within the videos, that I was very much looking to change my business model because it needed to change and suit my lifestyle. So I was working within the business and we had a launch cycle which was often very successful but often very hands-on. And over the summer I needed to step back and change and be more present for the children, and it made me realise that there is nothing underneath that supports the business unless I make it happen every month. And that to me didn't feel like a great business model, even though on the outside everyone might be like, wow, you keep getting these huge months, and we did and we do, and that's incredible, but what about having some security? What about locking in some revenue? So that's where I was with it and why I wanted to do it, but I also wanted to do it in a way that was really aligned to me. I didn't want to take on loads of new retained clients and sort of charge them $2,000 a month in a legal package and then provide legal services, because I didn't want to be on call to do that anymore. I also didn't want to offer a mastermind. I know that that's something that people ask me about before, and I do some mentoring one-to-one, but I didn't want to just set up a mastermind and be like, okay, yeah, it's £1,000 a month, you come and be in this space, be in my space, learn from me. I really wanted it to be true to the business that I sell, business services that I sell, because I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? It's very easy sometimes. People often say the only way to make money is to teach people how to make money online, and I get that those kind of businesses do very well. So it's important to me that I was increasing this monthly recurring revenue with legal provision and legal services. So I have got 3 ways that I'm going to share with you now about what I've actually been doing, and they're so easy. Like, one of them is actually embarrassingly easy, that you'll be able to do them too, and if that's what you're looking to try and do in your business. So the first one, I made it a priority. So I started doing this series, I started getting really focused on the fact that I wanted to change my life in this. I stopped allowing myself to have one-to-one clients because that just perpetuated the problem. So I made it a priority that I spent time looking at how to do it and what was going to work, but I also prioritised it within the week. Within the week it was, how was I going to grow it? What were the opportunities? What are the services I have now? They became the priority. So much so that I've overhauled one of them. I've actually closed one of the services I have. So I have 2 products that are on subscription, which provide my monthly recurring revenue. One is a legal membership and one is a representation service. And so both of those became the priority at looking at what I was doing with those, like at all levels of it. As I say, to the extent that I have just recently decided that the membership overall can be so much better. So I've closed that at the moment, which I'll come on to in a minute, but making it a priority. So I think it's very easy sometimes in business to say this part doesn't work, or this isn't working, and constantly just keeping going, be like, this isn't working, or I need to grow this, or I want to do this in my business. But unless you actually commit to giving yourself the time and making it a priority, it isn't going to happen. So that was the first one. The second one, and this is where it's a little bit embarrassing, I actually asked for the sale. I realised that in a number of areas I was not selling the thing I was wanting to grow and develop, and I think that as sort of was tied into the priority piece. I realised I was marketing other things. I'd be marketing our templates, marketing our courses, marketing our trademark service, but I never actually told people about the membership. And I was like, I actually need to sell this. I need to make it at all areas, need to be telling people, come and join the membership. And it wasn't just that, it was the representation service. I would send people an email after they finished working with us on their trademark, and that was it. If I didn't hear back, I'd be like, oh, they're not interested. That's not necessarily the case. We're all so busy. Started following up with people. Everybody, when I followed up, joined. They just said, oh yeah, brilliant, thank you. And that's made me think that maybe the part where we are pitching that service wasn't in quite the right timing for them, and therefore they didn't respond straight away. But then that follow-up they always did. So there's definitely something in that. So asking for the sale sounds like such an obvious tip, but I would actually invite you to question yourself, am I actually doing that? Am I doing it in a way that I think I am? And this was direct to mailbox, so not through an email campaign or anything, but bespoke to them because we'd worked them before. But I wonder how many things you have sold to people before and then you just you stop, or maybe even you've put them in a 3-month or 6-month thing of working with you, but and that's almost to contract them in, so you know, right, we've got this 6 months, and maybe you work them in a specific way. But do you ask them then if they want to continue on? Do you say to them, oh, we're coming to the end of the contract, are we rolling forwards? Now, one of the things that actually works so well in your contract is to add in a clause to say that the contract will roll, so it will automatically roll on. So unless they give notice, they're going to continue working with you. And that's an incredible asset to have in your contracts. That's what we have in our template contracts, that say, for example, someone's on a 6-month program with you, it says the contract will continue on after the 6 months, and it'll go on a 3-month rolling basis, and then it explains how you would let people know if you didn't want to carry on. That is great, so that you'd know that people will be locked in every 3 months. So it's worth considering that if you haven't done so already. So the first two is made it a priority, asked for the sale. The third one, again, it's so incredibly easy, but I tracked the data. And you know already, you'll be thinking, weren't you already doing that, Lucy? You know me, I live for the data, I love the data. I actually got into the data and really, really analysed it, because what I was seeing was I knew the numbers. So I had the numbers of people that came in and who left. And don't get me wrong, when people leave the membership, I was actually really disappointed. And I think I was looking at those numbers as the numbers. So I was tracking the data, which is very different to analysing the data. And I started analysing the data and realised that the reason that people were leaving is because they'd done the thing, and they are part of a legal membership because they want to understand how to legally protect their business, and they come to me, we work through the framework, they go through the steps, they maybe buy templates from us, maybe they just work on their own because you're obviously allowed, but we support with that too. And I know a number of memberships wouldn't, they would be like, oh, you have to buy our things to be able to work with us. We don't do that. So people would come, work on the legal documents, go through the audit, get access to everything that's in the membership, and they did the things, felt that they'd legally protected their business, and that's when they left. And it was only on analysing the data that I realised that yes, there are some people who've been members for a long time, probably will always be a member because they see the value in having access to me regularly. Sometimes they actually have issues that come up regularly. Sometimes they just like the security of knowing that I'm there. Other people work differently. I think that's the part that I hadn't realised. I sort of thought people will join the membership and then they'll just stay. They'll just stay because it's a brilliant place to be. We do lots of fun things. We make it helpful for them. So I was like, the fact that people are leaving means the membership isn't doing very well, and I was disappointed by that. But actually what was happening was the people that were leaving, when I analysed it, I was like, okay, actually the people who are leaving are the people who've done it, they've succeeded, they're almost ticked, getting legit off their business, off their list, they feel more confident, they don't need me, they know where I am and they can come back for support, fine, but they don't need to be in that membership anymore. And that's really changed things, because that's helpful for me for the pipeline of bringing new people in, because as bad as that sounds, or maybe it doesn't sound bad, but for me I was like, I don't want to be constantly having to get new people in all the time. And that's got me to the point now as well where I have just temporarily closed the Get Legit Hub, which is my membership, for a little while. And I know you might be thinking, but Lucy, you're trying to increase recurring revenue in business, that's the goal, that's the priority, and I've literally just cut off the way of doing that. And I have, because in making it my priority and looking at it more, I know it can be better. So I'm also been looking for improvements, because I feel like people will stay if there's something better for them, if there's more for them, if there's this clear route through, which I always felt there was this framework and everything. And I think it's gotten a lot better. There's a roadmap. there's just lots I really want to improve. So actually it feels more aligned to me to temporarily close it a little bit whilst we make improvements behind the scenes, so that the customer experience, like the customer excellence, is there and is in place. And that might be the wrong thing, because it's going to mean that the numbers then are static. As I said, we've gotten on average, like sometimes the increase has not been very much, sometimes there's been a decrease when I've been tracking the numbers, and I think that's why you have to be careful. But when I look at it now, there's about either 21 and 23% since I started doing this series as an increase on monthly recurring revenue. Now, that's not a lot in overall, because it wasn't huge numbers, but I think that sometimes we can get lost in this, in the sense that when I say it's not a lot, 21 to 23% is a huge amount, but when it comes down to like actual money in real terms, the amount that it's increased is not huge. It's not tens of thousands of pounds. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that it's interesting to see that you can increase things and as I say, without putting in like a massive new mastermind or something like that. So I think, because I actually do genuinely believe that it's much easier to add monthly recurring revenue in if you add in a new offer or a new asset. And obviously it's much easier if you're going to put something high touch in there, like one-to-ones, or like working with people at a higher price point. That's easy to do, but with that comes a lot more responsibility and a lot more touch time and a lot more moving parts and moving people. And I think that's something I've definitely learned a lot this year as well, is that one of the things that was very hard to hold and very hard to carry was, with having a law firm, obviously I work with a lot of people individually, so I carry what they are going through, which is correct, which is what should happen, but I carry them all individually by themselves. And sometimes one of them would have an issue and I would be okay to help to manage, but if multiple ones of them had an issue but they all felt that they were my priority, and I had to give priority level service to all of them, and then find time for the family, and then find time for all of my other services and offerings I had as well, and then somewhere in the pile find time for me. And I think that that's what's been really hard to navigate. And on that moment, I'm going to stop on the point of where I'm going to navigate, because I have somehow got to navigate this. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get through the road when it looks like that? This is the part, isn't it, where I used to do this series when it was the summer, and now it's flooded. So I'm going to leave you and navigate this, but I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments if you are looking to increase monthly recurring revenue in your own business, because if you are, I'd love to follow along in your journey too.